Hello and welcome to Horizonte, a weekly series where we take a look at current issues through a Hispanic lens. I'm your host, Catherine Anaya. The role of independent journalism has been growing. In fact, you've probably noticed some prominent national and local journalists shifting from legacy media to new media through platforms like Substack, podcasts, social media, and YouTube. So what does it mean to be an independent journalist, and what does it take to make an impact? We'll find out from two veteran Arizona journalists who made the shift. Take a look.
Politics in Arizona is always messy. That's why today's conversation matters. I'm speaking with State Republican Senator John Kavanagh about his legislative proposal to shield small political donors. But we ended up talking about public education, the governor's race, and the fight for control of the Arizona legislature next year. Stick around. You don't want to miss it. So welcome to Notas, Senator, and are you looking forward to the new legislative session?
Oh, absolutely. I think this will be my 18th or 19th, so always an interesting journey, always something new, and it keeps me occupied.
Hola, soy Maritza Félix. Soy latina, mexicana, migrante y desde el 1 de noviembre del 2024, ciudadana de Estados Unidos. Este es el último episodio de la segunda temporada de Cruzando Líneas y decidimos cerrarlo con una historia muy personal, aunque en realidad atraviesa a millones de personas que, aunque no nacieron en estas tierras, las sienten como suyas.
Joining me now is Elvia Diaz, a former Arizona Republican AZ Central editorial page editor, who now hosts a weekly bilingual news and current events podcast called Notas, and she's a commentator on Substack. Also here is Maritza Felix, an award-winning journalist, producer, and writer who started Conecta Arizona, a Spanish-language news service that connects people in Arizona and Sonora. She also hosts a podcast of new border initiatives called Cruzando Líneas. Welcome, ladies, to Horizonte. So good to see you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the invitation.
You bet. I'm so excited to talk about this subject, particularly because you're new. You've been in it for a while. It's a brand new kind of media that you both have not been doing prior to this. So I'm anxious to get into exactly what does it mean to be an independent journalist, and how does that influence the work that you're doing right now? We'll start with you, Maritza.
I think the freedom. I think being an independent journalist has a lot of challenges, but at the same time, the freedom to say and do the work that you want to do, to tell the stories of your communities and embracing your identity at the same time when you're doing so. When you work for traditional news organizations, sometimes you need to detach yourself from the community that you serve in order to be more objective or impartial or just to fulfill the traditional way of doing things. Now, being independent, you have the opportunity to see the landscape and the ecosystem and actually to represent the community that you belong, the community has built you and keeps building with you. That's something that we're doing with Conecta Arizona. And then we have more time to listen, to assume less and listen more and actually get to know the community better so we can serve them better.
And I know freedom is a big reason for you doing what you do, Elvia, right?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for the introduction, because the fact that I was the first Latina and only Latina to lead the editorial page editor of the Arizona Republic since 1890-something.
Give her her flowers.
I'm very proud.
Yes.
I'm very proud of the work that I did. But I was there at the Arizona Republic for 25 years and did it all: reporting, editing, column writing, opinion writing, and leading the editorial page. So one, nothing is forever. Second, the landscape, the media landscape has changed tremendously in the past 10 years. It is not the same. The investment in local journalism has changed dramatically across the nation and also here in Arizona. And so it was time for me to leave, but it was not time for me to leave journalism at all. And so being independent, I'm finding that out. That is very difficult. is very hard. Learning everything from scratch in terms of the technical aspects of podcasting. I have been writing for 25 years essentially, so now I am on video, on social media, Substack, and YouTube, everywhere. So it's difficult. It's a very challenging job, but at the same time, it is that freedom that you were talking about, Maritza, to react quickly to whatever is happening and to do it the way that you want to do it and do it fast.
Well, and you're also going back to skills that you probably used early in your career, where you are out in the streets, kind of this grassroots approach to journalism. What has been the most challenging part for you, or actually what has been the biggest highlight for you in terms of going back to those roots?
I think that's the most rewarding part of that, because in my role, I was editing, I was leading a team, so not necessarily writing as much, so in the office a lot, and now I'm out and about just when exactly what I was doing 25 years ago, connecting directly with people. You heard a piece at the beginning, an interview with a state legislator. That is what I was doing before, in English and Spanish, interviewing people. And so that's, to me, that's the most rewarding part about this. But also, it's time consuming. It's a lot of work. It takes time to go out there. But to me, that's why I wanted to do it. I want a connection, direct connection to the people that I cover, to the people that I listen to on social media. And fortunately, it is happening. I'm having that connection. But in terms of being independent, it's very difficult.
Well, we talk about, your passion and being able to be more authentic in what you're doing, but we don't, I think, talk enough about just how hard and how many hours you're putting in to the work that you're doing. Can you just tell me about that, Marisa? Because we talked back in 2020, just days after you started Conecta Arizona, and it's grown.
And I haven't slept yet.
Yes, exactly. So tell me
It's
how difficult it has been for you, and how much of an investment has it been for you, for your time and your effort?
Of course, and my family and everything that is around us. I was only a journalist, and that's fine, just a journalist doing the reporting job. I never thought about media liability insurance. I never thought about entrepreneur. Never thought about how am I going to make this that I really, really like and enjoy, and it's my passion.
And you're good at.
Yeah, and but it's like, what is the long run to sustainability? I had to change as a Latina my perspective to money, my perspective to fundraising, my perspective to ethics. There are so many things that are involved in launching your own thing, and the way that I do journalism. Before, if you told me that WhatsApp and news were like together in a sentence, I will laugh out loud. Now, this is what I do for a living. So my journalism lives in WhatsApp. That is a non-traditional platform. Lives in TikTok. Now my face is out there everywhere. I'm with my community. And I think one of the biggest lessons is stop fixing everything. Sometimes we as journalists, we assume a lot, and just stopping and listening to the community and being flexible to the formats and the platforms that we use has been very, very valuable. But it's hard. Because we don't have the backup of a big corporation that is going to protect ourselves. We don't have all the infrastructures that others who are working for traditional media have. So we have to rely a lot on resources and networks and colleagues that are going to be watching our backs when we are out there in the street doing our job.
Well, tell me a little bit about the work that you're doing right now, because you are out in the Latino communities at a time that is fearful, anxiety-ridden, a time probably that some folks that you've talked to have never experienced before in their lives. So tell me about how crucial what you're doing is to this moment in our communities, but also how it impacts how you do your job, because I understand that there are some fears for safety for yourself when you're out there trying to do your work, right?
Yeah, the community that I serve right now is under attack, and I'm part of the community that I serve. So I am, and my family is basically under attack. I work in Spanish, I'm Latina, I'm loud. I just recently became a U.S. citizen, but I was not a U.S. citizen before. So I represent everything that this country is not celebrating and is not embracing anymore. And that's something that I can see. And doing the work that we do, even speaking Spanish in the street or speaking English with the thick accent that I do have and I actually love, can make me a target. And that's the reality of most of my community lives. So that's why we need to change so many things, because we work in digital platforms. So digital security is a huge concern. We're going to have pretty soon a HIFA training and hostile environment training for Hispanic journalists that are immigrants that are living in Arizona, just because we need to be very mindful of how our immigration experiences affect our work. What's going to happen with my team, because I now lead a team of different immigration experiences, people who are here with DACA, with work visas, with permanent residents, they're afraid of traveling, they're afraid of covering those protests, and they feel that this country is not giving them the opportunities that they came here for.
Right.
It's very, very hard, and it's a very lonely path. But I think that most of us, since we're still connecting, I think we're stronger. We're changing the way that we tell the stories, and we're not letting that fear to drive us, but the opportunity to actually find joy in journalism, find the way to embrace difficult conversations, and find the way to actually connect as humans with our communities.
Which is so important. Elvia, tell me a little bit about these conversations that you have in the community, and do you feel like you're empowering our community and making perhaps just a better or more authentic difference and impact than perhaps you may have been able to do before?
I wouldn't say more authentic, because I'm a Mexican. I grew up, I was born and was raised in Mexico, and so I grew up speaking Spanish, and so that's unavoidable. But I do see that there is a need in the community for reliable information, and that's why I'm doing this in English and Spanish. You know, I am doing the bilingual deep dive every week on YouTube and all the channels, and I also have the English-focused Substack, and then I have reels on social media almost every single day, and I'm doing that mostly in Spanish. So I think the difference here is that I was doing it 100% in English,
right?
But I do see a tremendous need to do it bilingually as well, to do it in English and do it in Spanish. So I think there is a huge need, and yes, I do believe that they see the impact, and I do believe that people, not everyone, but that people understand that reporting, that independent, and when I say independent, like independent-minded journalists are essential to a democracy. And we live in this very difficult time where there are fewer reporters covering our neighborhoods, period, not just in English and not just in Spanish, overall. So journalism is extremely essential, more so than ever. And most unfortunate, that's when we see a lot of the cuts that has happened in legacy media. And so, yes, I think that community is reacting to that. But then again, it's also very difficult because not a lot of people want to pay for
It's
news.
hard.
It is
Right.
very difficult, and we have to pay our bills.
Yes.
And if we don't pay our bills, then we have to make a decision.
Well, that brings me to my final question, because I knew we were going to run out of time with this conversation, but we're down to about a minute. So I want to ask you each, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Where would you advise people to go, or how do they go about finding news that is factual?
I think if you speak Spanish, obviously Connect Arizona, that will be my first pick. No, but find your trusted messengers in their community. Sometimes it's journalists, sometimes it can be faith groups, sometimes it can be community organizations that are filling the gap of providing fact-check, reliable information. Don't believe everything that you see online.
Elvia?
And I will add that when you see a headline that makes you angry, just pause, because misinformation is filled with headlines that are designed to make you angry and react to it without thinking.
Thank you both.
Yes, thank
I am just so appreciative of your work. I love you both, and I appreciate you being here on the show. So thank you.
Thank
Much
you.
continued success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Muchas
to see you.
We need the
gracias.
help.
Thank you.
Yes. Gracias.
Claro.
And that's our show for Horizonte and Arizona PBS. I'm Catherine Anaya. We'll see you next time.